Hi everybody, this is Jason Hyde and I want to show you guys some of my sculpting techniques for sculpting biomechanical creatures. So this head was originally sculpted in ZBrush and it came out really well. And then I got the crazy idea of sculpting this lower portion, this part right here, all in physical clay. So this was all sculpted in physical clay, and then I 3D scanned it. And then this little piece right here, this little side piece that I just made disappear and reappear, this was all sculpted back in ZBrush. So, and then also this body piece, he's got a whole body I'm working on. So this upper portion is pretty much done right now, and I'm just kind of working my way down the body. I've also got an arm that goes in here. But anyway, I wanted to show you guys how just one little piece and how I sculpted just this piece. So this video is pretty much everything I did to sculpt that piece sped up 4 times. So a lot of these processes I will repeat throughout the rest of the body. But this video kind of takes you through the process. So here I've already got sort of a body that I've sculpted, and the top portion is actually a 3D scan. And then that white thing that I just added there, this is a sphere. This is just a polysphere that I'm kind of trying to fit into place here because I want to do an exterior part that kind of fills in. So right now I'm just kind of adjusting the body to kind of make it fit a little better, just to try to get the sphere in place. And I constantly zoom out and kind of look at the whole body, the body as a whole, while I'm trying to kind of fit in a new piece. So this is kind of like I think of it as like a side rib cage. And I'm just I'm taking the sphere and just trying to figure out, I have a rough sketch that I'm sort of working with of what I want, but I really like to explore my shapes in ZBrush because I feel like I can find a lot more interesting shapes in using ZBrush because what it allows you to do. I was listening to music, and so here I'm just kind of carving out some areas and trying to figure out how this piece fits into the body. And yeah, I did sculpt this body a while back, and it's just really rough, and these pieces are kind of filling in. So when I do these exterior pieces, I try to make them so that they work with the body, and I think of how the muscles lay and where the muscles run through. Here I've dynameshed the sphere now at a high poly count, probably 2,000 or 3,000 polys. And most of the brushes that I use in the whole process are I use a lot of just your standard brush. As you can see here, I'm using my standard brush just to kind of carve out shapes. And then I also use Dam Standard a lot, and then I use a little bit of H polish, and I like to use the insert mask brushes. I can't remember what they're called. The bullion brushes, I like to use those. And one of the features I really like about ZBrush is I can try over and over again, as you can see here, to get what I want. The stroke of my carving into the sculpture, I can do it over and over again until I get exactly what I want. So I will sometimes flip through brushes and depths and sizes until it gets to what I want it to be. So sometimes I'll stroke it 10 or 12 times, try again and again and again until I'm happy with it. I think I finally got that little piece right there. And then I just kind of slowly work it in, and then I'll go in and smooth out. And right here I'm using Dam Standard. I like to use it negatively and positively. It's kind of a pinching brush. So right now I'm trying to pinch that shape out a little bit. And as you can see, I did it a whole bunch of times to try to get it right. I think that's too harsh there, so I'm going over again and again to try to get that shape right. And a lot of this is just having a steady hand, but I also later on will adjust my, there's a stroke tool in the upper corner there that I will go and manipulate later on. Excuse me. So now I'm trying to sort of establish, there's a big kind of blank area there, like what does this look like? And I started carving in, and I felt like it was too much, and I really like that outer shape. It kind of mimics a rib cage. So I was trying to mimic rib cages here. And what I'm doing here is I'm click, holding, and drag. I hold shift, and I drag. And as it gives me that 20. And I keep getting that 20, and it gets them nice and aligned. So see, but then I decided, nah, that's not going to work. And every time I would do that, I would also if you hit the 1 key, it'll repeat your stroke and basically just make it deeper or bigger, whatever. Here again, I've moved to, okay, those weren't working, so let's try this. And here I'm actually finally happy with the stroke. And now I'm just kind of smoothing out the edges. I want it to be, nice and flowy. And then again, I like to use the pinch tool here, or the dam standard in positive, and sort of pull out a little edge there. And I constantly zoom out and will look at the whole, a lot of this is almost like micro detail work. Okay, here I'm on the back of it, and you can see the shoulder blades above it, and I'm trying to figure out how this interacts with the muscles that come in through the back here. And at first, those 3 little divots didn't feel right, and I thought, well, what if it was a whole scoop out? And this actually looks right to me. This felt a little better. And then up there, that's where the arm is going to connect into the piece. So I'm trying to make sure that there's enough clearance there. So that's looking pretty good to me. And I keep trying to look and zoom out and zoom in and just get the overall feel to make sure it looks right to me. Back to, looks like dam standard here. And I'm just going to start getting in there and actually filling in some smaller details. That's a really quick way to just make some sort of tubing. And now I'm onto the standard brush, and I'm doing that same technique where I click, hold, and drag using shift and let go of shift, and then it makes a nice square area. And I just do this kind of over and over again. And again, I'll hit the number 1 to make it deeper. So it's hard to see, but it's almost a superfluous detail, but it's there. And I like that this is more hard surface looking against all this kind of really organic stuff. So it gives a juxtaposition of, complicated to organic, complicated hard surfacing to complex organic. I wanted to have a lot of interesting look to the whole piece. Here I'm using the bullion brushes, and I was adjusting the depth, and I'm just putting little spheres in here to try to give it some interest and detail. So I've placed a couple of spheres like little buttons. There I'm adding a cylinder in there to look like a screw head, or like some kind of pin in there. Again, click, hold, drag, stroke. And I try to memorize that number when I'm stroking, just in case I want to do another stroke. I'll memorize, the 42 or whatever number it is. And if I do another one, I do the same number. Again, I will just keep doing it over and over until I'm happy with the stroke. I do a lot of this click, hold, and drag. That's how I get a lot of my kind of repeating pattern shapes. And this one, I think I'm struggling a little bit because of the way it's sort of a weird angle. And it just wasn't coming out right, so I start from the bottom. And that was working a lot better. It's not perfect, but I felt like it was working enough. Again, doing the same technique, but this time smaller inside of those to give it more depth and more interest. So now we've got this interesting kind of repeating, almost like tubing, but not tubing. So again, when we zoom out, it looks pretty good from that angle. Just adding some more interest here, some details. I think overall this took me about an hour to do in ZBrush, because this is sped up 4 times, so this whole video is like only like less than 20 minutes, I think. Anyway, doing some more pinching out here using the damp standard in additive mode. I'm soloing out the piece here. Sometimes it helps to solo out the piece so that you're just looking at that, and you can drag the line in. It looks nicer. This is underneath detail that you're not really going to see, but I still wanted to put in some interesting detail in there. So I'm doing a hole there. Again, I click, hold, drag, and then I hit the number 1 button to make it deeper, as deep as I kind of keep it shallow, and then I make it deeper by hitting 1 like 3 or 4 times. And I want to kind of block out that area, detail it out. Now I want to figure out what's going on in this kind of whole area here. We've got some interest here, and that I like the hole because it really draws your eye to that area. So I'm trying to figure out what to do with this hole here, and again, laying in some interesting detail using that click, hold, drag technique. This still didn't look right to me, so I tried it again. And again, the beauty of ZBrush is that I can just try things over and over again until I'm happy with it. And it's not a tremendous, like if I was doing this in traditional sculpting, which I have 20 years experience in, I'd have to put them in, and then I'd have to, and if it didn't look right, I'd have to carve them all out, cut them, and then re-sculpt it. And that takes time. Now I'm doing something I call surface wiring, where it's a little more freeform. So imagine wires that are imbued on the surface, and I like it to look like the wires actually go into something. So all those little areas that I've put holes in, I'm running wires to, or trying to figure out how I want to run these wires to it. So I try to do it in a couple different gauges of wires, and this is just, again, the standard brush, set at a higher intensity. I think the intensity is like 43. And it's only, the draw size on this is only about 11. And this is where I actually change my mouse average. So I go into stroke, and then I just extend lazy mouth. I extend it full blast, and I can make smoother lines. Here I'm just trying to figure out how these lines are going to work. And these little lines really, lines, they add a lot of subtle detail, across these broad surfaces that don't have a lot of detail, and just shapes, and it kind of breaks up that the shape to give it more interest. Yeah, here I'm trying to get just a little more detail inside this hole, and I tend to hop around everywhere. I don't stay on one area. I tend to grab things and do things on the fly. I don't know. I get distracted very easily, I guess. Again, trying to make some more interest inside this area. I haven't quite figured it out yet, but yeah, I'll just keep stroking it until the line looks right to me. Again, more pinching. So really, I've only used 2 brushes and the smooth tool so far. Oh, and the bullion brush for the little spheres, but that's about it. I think I was trying to add some more here, but it wasn't. I ended up not liking it, and I just decided to just carve it in more and make it a little more deeper. That looks pretty good. Again, this is just a side piece for a larger model. I mean, a whole body. So it's not crucial that these be, super perfect. This is just a small side detail piece. Again, soloing it out to find out. And here I'm doing my thicker gauge wire on top and trying to figure out how that works. And I like to do things in 3s as well. 3s or 5s when I do lines. And then again, I like to also make it look like the wires are actually going into something. So the wires go inside of a small area here. And yeah, even zooming out, that looks really good to me. It's got a nice area that kind of breaks up. And it's not too repeaty. I don't want to repeat the detail that's above it. That shoulder blade's got a lot of the same strokes. And if anybody's curious, the material I'm using to sculpt with is a material I got from one of my teachers, whose name is Thomas, and he does jewelry, and I can't remember his last name, but this was part of one of the materials we got when I took his class, and I'm also using his interface. Thomas Whittlebach. Yeah, this is his interface that I got when doing jewelry sculpting with him, and also his material. And I really like it because it's a good shader, and it's pretty accurate when I do my 3D printing. It looks pretty close to what some of the materials you use in ZBrush for sculpting. They're not great if you're going to be doing. Eventually, I want to do a 3D print on this. Here, I'm actually using the planar flatten brush to kind of flatten in that inside area. I want a nice flat plane in there, so I just kept trying to get it flat. And now I'm using another bullion brush, I think, or I am machine parts, and just trying to put some more interest in there. And then I'm going to go back and carve that in so I can actually see where my flat plane is. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I push that in too. Yeah. So now I've got a nice flat plane there, and that's looking pretty good to me. We've got some nice shapes. They're pretty simple, but it's a complex shape, but with a lot of detail. It's a simple shape that I've turned into more a shape that works with the body, adding all this detail, and now I'm putting this, this kind of recessed knob in here, or whatever you want to call it. I like to think of that as a connection point for tubes. So that part right there would be connected. Here I'm saving it, and we're done. That was a little fast at the end, but that was a quick rundown of how I do sculpture stuff using ZBrush. I hope you like it. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you learned something. Stay tuned. I'll be doing some more videos. Jason Height signing off.